Well, today is the day. By the day, I mean we're going on a little road trip. Got all the kiddos, got all the kiddos in tow. We are going to be heading to Carrizozo, New Mexico, which is just under an hour and a half from where we are. And we're going to go visit a nursery there who is partnered with Johnny Appleseed Organics. They are actually a retailer for Climategard, and so the owner of that nursery reached out to me, and she's being so generous to donate to me a large bag of Climategard to help me along in the contest, as well as to be able to use in our backyard micro farm. So we're gonna head up there and take you guys with us on the journey, and I'll get some footage once we get there. It's a nursery and farm, so I'm really excited to see how everything looks there, and just kind of take a little bit of time to explore, and also just get some advice, tips, and tricks about growing sweet potatoes in this region of New Mexico. Because the owner of that nursery, her name is Jamiee. She has definitely more experience than I do in regards to farming in general, but also as far as what cultivars are going to do well in this area. So we're going to get some tips and tricks from her while we're there as well. So stay tuned.
Okay, Courtney, welcome to Isle of Sky Farm. And you too, sweetie, and all the family. And we're gonna go out there and load you up some Climategard, and we're gonna go look around and wander around the garden a little. It's pretty, it's beyond four-wheel drive, so we'll do a quickie wandering around and get you guys going, but we'll get your stuff in there and also take a look at some of the other things you might need, and maybe some seeds you don't have or little plants or whatever. I specialize in them. This year I think we're growing 20 different varieties of tomato transplants, and they're all heirlooms of all sizes, shapes, and colors. Peppers, everything the box stores don't have and what people don't usually source. And all the seed is grown here on Olive Sky, and I'm very particular about that. They're land race type seeds that I have found to do very well here. Even a romaine that does well in the heat in the summer, I've developed up here, and it's sweet to the core. So you can actually do that. So come on up and let's go take a look. This is not only a full working nursery. Everything in this nursery is grown in this nursery. I'm the only nursery in the United States I know of that grows and sells what they grow. I don't have things shipped in from other growers. I don't have a Bonnie's truck come in.
Right.
I'm really serious about no dangerous chemicals, and believe me, they're hidden everywhere.
Yes, they are.
And you can't afford to be piling too much of that on. So this we sell only products that we know that we have tested that are safe. They're safe for you to use. They're safe for the soil. The other thing is, when you use a premium fertilizer like Climategard,
I'll be right back.
it is loaded with a biological pack that builds your soil no matter where. And we have a lot of problems here because we don't have good soil biology. There are many nutrients in the soil, but they can't be unlocked by the plants.
Right.
And so in order to unlock them, we have a biopack in the fertilizers from Sigma, which are sold here. The fertilizers sold out of Isle of Sky are the most cutting edge technology on the planet today. And ask people who have tried to find something else in France or anywhere else in the world, Australia, South America, they won't find it. They will come to Texas, USA, to Sigma Agriscience and find it. And that's why we use that here, because it's what helps the soil come to life and stay alive. So if you add a lot of chemicals, you're going to kill all that biology and basically work against yourself and also work against your plants. So we sell the products that all enhance each other and try to really here it's all about helping people grow food to live on and eat and feed their family and feed themselves. And that's what it's all about. I sell lick tubs, which that's what these containers are. They are upcycled from the ranching industry, from the range, come in here, and we sell them for $3 a piece because it finances our kids. We have kids as young as 5 that come in twice a month and spend all day for a horticulture agriculture work study program.
Oh, that's cool.
And they learn to work in the nursery, they learn to grow food, they learn to germinate seeds, they learn about the science of it. And so we sell those for $3 a piece to finance the program. And they're great growing containers. So anyway, that's what we're all about, is testing, trialing. We're all about use materials as close to where you live as possible. Try to keep the footprint down. People do a lot of yapping about the environment and the carbon footprint, and they're some of the worst about sourcing things from far away and not right close. And be creative. I mean, it's fun to be artistic and creative. So as you walk around the nursery, you'll find that as I thin the forest in order to grow the nursery and the plants which we sell here, then I utilize the sticks on the fences to keep the deer and the elk out, and also for trellises for beans, peas, tomatoes. So I'll let you go wandering around up there. Let's look in here and peek real quickly just at the door. As you can see, we're growing, all the rocks you see were dug out of the beds behind them.
Oh,
So this is all just solid rock and hard clay soil here.
Oh, yes.
And this garden was just carved out of a rocky slope. And when people say they can't garden because they don't have good soil, take a look at this. Make good soil.
Yes.
You can garden anywhere. And it doesn't take great soil, you make great soil. Do you like hammocks?
Yes.
It's like swinging in hammocks. I like swinging in hammocks too. See, I'm working this morning on, I've planted potatoes and asparagus in that bed, and I grow the root stalks, which I make the fruit trees, but these are all in here baby apple trees. Well, they're not babies, they're actually full production. They've been producing for 3 or 4 years. They're dwarf, they're super dwarfs. I have a whole orchard growing in that much space.
That's so cool.
That's awesome.
And it's why I graft them on the super dwarf rootstock. I can graft any variety of apple on a super dwarf rootstock. And we will have available, which I'm doing right now, the original John Chapman or Johnny Appleseed apple. I'm grafting on the rootstock, which will make a tree this big. And so you can have a Johnny Appleseed apple that'll grow in one of the big tubs.
Yes.
And it's a good thing to do when you don't want to be up on ladders, you don't have much space, you can have a whole orchard.
Yes.
And apples particularly lend themselves because there's so much selection in the rootstocks. And they'll grow. They'll come back the next year and grow, and they're absolutely gorgeous anyway. So you can cut them and put them in bouquets.
Okay.
Be plants to grow away, and the main trunk will go ahead and rot, and you have all that organic matter rotting under the soil and loosening the soil so you don't have to do it.
Yes.
And it's how I loosened the clay soil up here, where growing any of this is possible. Is the plants are helping me do it. And I'm picking the ones that like to be here. As you can see, I let all these grow, but I have tons in the pathways every year that what I do is I go ahead and just dig them out, and then I put them in my compost pile, or that's how I fill some of my big raised beds, is I make my own soil in the raised beds by using the things that grow here that I know are safe, and then layering them and using the fertilizer, because one thing about the fertilizer, especially any of these with a good biological pack from seed, and that would be my Grow Mold and the Climategard. They have the biological pack that will break down your compost pile quickly. And then it's that way you get it going faster. And I make my raised beds that way, and then I just keep piling it, and in a year or two I have a raised bed full of good stuff that I just made from weeds in the garden. And that's how I save time, money. It takes a little longer, but this is a big place, and I plan to live a long time.
Yes.
New Mexico is its own rules.
Yes.
There are no rules for New Mexico. We're it's like off the planet different place. And you just have to listen to what the plants tell you, because people like to say, oh, I'm feeding my soil, and I say, do you know what I do? I feed my plants. The first thing is feed your plants, and then the soil will come along. If you're feeding your plants correctly, your soil will improve and support more life.
Yes. Okay, well, we are leaving the nursery and farm here at Isle of Skye. It was a really awesome experience. Yes. And I felt like we just got like a wealth of knowledge in what we were there for an hour, maybe 45 minutes.
Something like that.
45 minutes to an hour, and I just feel like we've gotten a wealth of knowledge. It was just really cool to see everything that she had growing here in a similar climate as to where I am, and just to see like how well things can do that you wouldn't typically expect to do well in an area like this.
Trees.
So she had a lot of fruit trees, lots of greens. It was really cool to see like the different trees that she had. A lot of dwarf apple trees.
And she called him something like a super dwarf or something like that, because it's like even smaller than a traditional dwarf version of the plant, which I thought was neat. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, I didn't either. So it was like a full orchard within maybe like a 3-foot by 12-foot area. So it was really cool to even see that that was possible.
And when they're full grown, like the trees were anywhere from like 3 to maybe like 4.5 feet tall, but they're producing apples of that size, so you're not limited to these massive, 10 to 20 foot tall apple trees that you can't reach half of them without like a pole. You can reach everything on these.
So that just makes the whole cultivating process much easier, the pruning process and harvesting process much easier, and accessible to growers who are growing in smaller areas or within urban areas.
Needs less water that way too.
Yes. And so it was just cool to see like their whole process. and to see like their plant nursery. They're doing different trials, growing out seeds that are acclimated to this climate, which the more I continue to garden and venture on the gardening journey, I'm realizing the importance of having seeds that are acclimated to your area. Just because even within the DNA of the seed is what it needs to be able to survive in a climate like ours, where the UV rays are harsh, the wind is harsh, the heat is harsh. But if a plant is grown and survived all of this and thrives, yeah, then the generations that it produces are going to be more successful. And so just learning about all of that was cool.
It's maximizing your efficiency. You're not like wasting, time with, like, just for instance, those apple trees. You're not wasting your time planting like 50 apple trees that you barely get any yield from. Instead, you have these trees that have already been proven through generations of those micro or super micro trees to be successful here. So every tree and every offspring is producing at a much higher rate than like an outside tree that you brought from like the East Coast or somewhere up north. That's more of like a traditional, or what you would expect an apple tree to be.
So overall, it was a really amazing experience, and the nursery and farm is open to the public on Saturdays. They also have a farmer's market on Saturdays as well. So I'll show you guys their business card. So do you have any final thoughts?
I'm really glad we made the trip out here. It's not like a super long drive, it was about an hour, 15 hour and a half-ish. It was really neat. Obviously, I thought it was really cool just the level of knowledge that they had. Because it's one thing to hear about like somebody's like, oh, I've been doing this for like 30 years. Because there's knowledge you can gain from doing something for an extended period of time. But the level of connections they have and the level of experimentation that they do, that they've done all the hard work to figure everything out. They're constantly trying to find like better methods. They're analyzing and doing the research on what has worked and why things have worked. Like, it's just a whole another level of expertise beyond what I expected. Like, like when I've talked to people who have done a certain profession for an extended period of time, they know shortcuts. Like, everybody develops those things. They're like, hey, like, watch out for this, watch out for that. But then there's the true professional that dives in, analyzes everything, and tries to figure out how can we make what works work even better, and why is it that it works in the first place, so that we can really maximize that. And their level of professionalism in that way blew me away. I've seen very few people in any career field that I've ever had the privilege of speaking with have that level of knowledge and expertise and professionalism that they've developed over time, like they had for farming and for cultivating agriculture, which I thought was just an awesome thing. So I think kind of the coolest thing is, there's people who do gardening, like as a hobby only, which is fine. Like, I'm not bad-mouthing that in any way. And there's people who do it like as a profession, like maybe they have like a family farm, or maybe they started something like we have, and they figure out a method that works, and then they don't really depart from that, because there's the old adage, if it ain't broke, why fix it? And then there's what these people are doing, which is literally rocket science in farming. Like, the level of academia that they're applying to this, with the note taking and dehybridization of certain crops to figure out exactly where certain traits came from, and to be able to manipulate those traits into future generations of crops. It's far beyond anything like that you learn about in your little Punnett squares lessons in high school biology. It's truly like an awe-inspiring thing. Just the level of, like I said, like rocket science that they're basically doing in the farming world. And now, we got the opportunity to connect with that experience that kind of world, and just be given the blessing of being able to communicate with them and learn from them. Regardless of if we ever get to that level of brain power being put towards like how can we 100% squeeze like every ounce of efficiency out of things, like just being able to have a direct line to that kind of wisdom is something I'm incredibly thankful for at the end of the day.
As well. So overall, it was an amazing visit, and we look forward to visiting again, especially like mid-spring when stuff is like really just full grown and in full bloom. So I'll definitely look for an update in the future when we revisit Isle of Skye. Yeah, it was an amazing experience, and I highly recommend.